we've always spent a lot of money on lead magnets, basically. So I'm sure, I don't know, Meredith, I don't know how much advertising you do online. Jen, I don't think you do all that much. And when you get into advertising online and putting more of I'd say, offensive posture online, a lot of what you're doing is creating these lead magnets. So whether it's handouts or videos or webinars or links or other kinds of things, lead magnets are a huge deal when you're talking about internet lead generation. And not only internet lead generation, also running your business. Apps are important. Creating apps for lead magnets, part of the reason why I went down that chain. So like survey apps, calculators, all sorts of interactive things that you can do with leads. Creating these types of very simple web applications is really helpful. Whether you're talking about generating leads through lead magnets, whether you're trying to create applications for maybe running your business, you're talking about client intake kind of stuff. And so today, what I'm going to be doing is demoing really the interaction of two different pieces of software. If you're somewhat familiar with code or if you're comfortable with large language models, then this program called Replit. And if you check out the chat, I have two resources for you in the chat. The first is a Google document to a survey that we're going to be filling out when we go through this exercise today. The second is a link to the AI agent, actually, that we're going to be using today to help us with our exercise. So, So anyway, Replit is a really cool little piece of code. It's actually an AI agent. And okay, thank you, Meredith. Let me get the Google Doc back in there. Give me one sec. Let's try it again right there. So, Replit's actually really cool. And I honestly have no idea the exact way it works. Part of the reason why it's pretty cool is because I would not be able to put this together myself. And the thing that's really cool about it is that basically what Replit does is it solves a major problem for small and medium-sized business owners. And that major problem is that if you want to create any sort of web application, whether you have a lead magnet that you want to create, like some sort of calculator that we're going to do today, whether you have some sort of idea for an application for your business that might run it more efficiently, if you're not a full stack developer, then it's really hard for you to create applications that are actually useful in your business. And what I mean by full stack are not just the ability to design a user interface, not just the ability to create a database, but get the whole thing going, right? So you've got a really nice user interface, you've got a good user experience, you've got it backed by a database, you've got it published online, full suite web application. Unless you're a software developer, it's really hard to do that. I would say a year ago, even, to get your foot in the door to create your own kind of like web application, you're talking about a minimum spend of, realistically, like $20,000 or $25,000 just to get your foot in the door. And I would say that if you wanted to get anything decent out of it, you're probably going to spend 50 to 75 or on the order of $100,000 over the course of 2 or 3 months to really get like a really cool web application. And so for small and medium-sized businesses that don't necessarily have 50 or 100 grand lying around or don't have the technical expertise to manage a full stack web development process, creating very simple tools that can help them run their business was, up until now, essentially out of reach. And that's where I think Replit is really cool, because Replit basically says, okay, guys, the playing field is now leveled, and all that money you used to spend on software development, you're good. For 25 bucks, we can basically take care of it, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it. And you can write, what's really cool, your own web applications, put them into production, and you don't need to understand a single line of code in order to do it. You're going to talk to Replit just like you would ChatGPT. And so today what we're going to do is, if you look at our website, and I'm going to share my screen now so I can start taking you guys through this. If you look at our website, we, on our mortgage company, we do not have a mortgage calculator. So if you look at Vanna Lending and you go here, a lot of mortgage companies, if you look at their tools, they'll have some sort of mortgage calculator here. We don't have one. So today what we're going to do is we're going to be working with ChatGPT, and here's a preview of Replit. This is my Replit screen. You're going to notice there's some other apps here because I've been playing around with Replit now for about a month and a half. And we're going to be going through a process where today, if you sign up for Replit and you have a ChatGPT account and you follow along, you're going to be able to walk out of this session with your own working web application. Full stack, which is really cool. So let's just jump into it and make sure everyone kind of follows the process. And what we're going to do is basically use ChatGPT similar to how we use it over the first few sessions, where most of AI training is actually not in training the AI on how to give you output. It's training yourself on how to give it the right inputs, right? So what we're going to do today is go through a quick little exercise, and I've created this Google document that will help us kind of organize our thoughts before we go into Replit. So I would say one of the major things that Replit, so let's take a quick step back. So like ChatGPT, we've talked about this where if you put garbage into ChatGPT, you're going to get garbage out. That was the whole point of our first session or two, right? Where if you give it detail and you give it a lot of very clear guidance, then it will be able to take the detail and the clear guidance and give you, in theory, what you want. If you don't give it clear guidance or you don't give it the right detail, then it doesn't really matter what you do or what you say, you're going to get garbage coming out of it. And so what we're going to do today is basically go through a very simple organizational process where if you're not familiar with how to talk about application descriptions or application development, you don't need to do it. If you just answer a couple simple questions, we're going to use ChatGPT to help us talk to Replit. And I'm going to show you how you can use ChatGPT to decipher some of what Replit is doing to help you maybe get to an answer even faster without even understanding some of the code that Replit and ChatGPT are doing in the background. So today, like I said, we're going to talk about mortgage calculators. If you're following along and want to do something totally different, that's great. And you just want to make sure you're following along and answering the same questions on your side and following the same process. And this process will work no matter what application you are developing. Okay? So today, what do we want our app to do? So we are a mortgage company, mortgage broker, and we would like to have a mortgage calculator on our website so we can help customers and leads calculating their mortgage. We'd like someone to input their, let's say, purchase price, down payment percent, estimated mortgage rate, loan term, and estimated property taxes to calculate monthly payments and show an amortization table. The app should also show total payments for interest and principal. Okay, cool. So we're just going to try and give it a little bit of detail, but basically we're a mortgage broker. We'd like to have a calculator on our website so we can do all this kind of stuff. And like I said, the more inputs, the more outputs, the more detail you can give ChatGPT about what you want your app to do, the better it's going to help you create a prompt that will get Replit started on the app for you. Okay? So in this case, we're going to use the second question. I actually pasted this in the wrong area. So what I'm going to do here is ask it to use a certain color scheme. So you can do this with ChatGPT and Replit. I'm actually trying it for the first time here in the sheet. So if you have a color code like hex codes or RGB codes, or you know the exact colors you want it to use, you can always say, like, use this color palette. Here are the hex codes, RGB codes, whatever. Sometimes you can also input a picture like this and have ChatGPT extract it to say, I would like to use the green and beige color scheme from this image. Please extract color codes and send them to Replit with your instructions. And then we'll say, okay, so what else should it look like? So we're basically giving you an example. Should it be a simple web page here? Do you want it to be a command line thing, a chat interface? How would you want this to be? I'd say we want this to be a website. It will probably be, let's see, what's the right word? Embedded in a different site. So plain is fine. Just nice layout and easy user experience. Okay, cool. Let's see. Features, capabilities, other cool things we want this mortgage calculator to do. I don't know, Nate. What do you think would be like a really cool thing if you were going to get online and have a mortgage calculator? And I know you've seen hundreds of these things. What would be like a cool thing that it would tell you to do?
Cost of waiting, maybe.
Cost of what does that mean?
Cost of waiting to purchase now versus renting, because a lot of these people for this app, they're going to be going there. They're like, should I rent? Should I buy? This is how much it would cost me for my mortgage. If I were to wait 12 months with current home prices expected to go up X amount, what is the cost of me waiting and how much more will I pay in a year? I know that's complicated, but is there a way to do that?
Let's try. Let's see if I get this one right. So our tool should also give the user an option to calculate their cost of waiting. If they check the box wanting to calculate this, then the cost of waiting, then they should be prompted to input their rent, right?
Yep.
And the cost of waiting will be the, it would be the cost of their rent over the next 12 months, right? Plus, well, minus the, after tax.
Adam, mute yourself, buddy.
Adam?
There you go.
Thanks very
much. Sorry.
Adam!
Adam, are you eating Subway?
Let's say cost of rent over the next 12 months minus their after-tax interest cost, because we're not going to include equity build as a cost, right? Minus property taxes over the next 12 months, minus insurance over the next 12 months, right?
What about if you have the potential person enter in their desired zip code they want to be in, maybe it says something, I'll blurt this out. Like if it gives you an estimate of a monthly mortgage of $3,500, maybe it says Blue Pebble recently placed a new homeowner in this, or something that shows you closed business in their price point.
You totally could do that. That would take a little bit more development time than we have today. And that would definitely be something you could do. All you would need to do is basically create a database, which is what this would do in the back end when you ask it to. And if you had a database of all your transactions, you could tell it or create a function where, if someone clicked a zip code, it would pop up saying, oh, we just put a loan here, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you could totally do that. Not a problem. For right now, today, I'm just going to leave it like this very simply. And I'll tell you, Meredith, you can go as far down the rabbit hole with this program as you want. Like it as far down as you want. There's no depth, there's no bottom to this rabbit hole. Once you get into Replit, start playing with it, and at the end, I'll kind of show you what we've done with it as well. So, all right, do we want to use any AI or special tech? Probably not. I mean, we're not going to have an API connection to ChatGPT. We could, in theory, going to Meredith's point about, well, what else could we do? I think this could be something very simple. Like you could probably give it some sort of very basic advice, like, do you have questions for us? And you could connect it to ChatGPT and give ChatGPT some instructions about how to answer these questions and have it spit back an answer. So creating some sort of chat agent or something like that is absolutely something you could use Replit to do. For right now, we're just going to do this. And so once you input your questions and you have all your answers, we're going to go back to the blank question page, because if you go over here, it has a final ChatGPT prompt. Okay. And as we always do in our exercises, we're going to copy this prompt. We're going to go to our ChatGPT window and we're going to paste the prompt. So we're going to say, create and you can change this section to whatever it is that you guys are doing. So we're going to create a mortgage calculator app on Replit. We're going to go back and we're going to take all the answers to our questions here. Let's see. So we're going to copy this, go back to ChatGPT, and we're going to paste. I might not have picked up my image, so we might need to do that a little differently. Let me see what we can do here. It's not letting me paste my image, so we're going to have to figure it out. But we'll figure that out in a second. Okay, and just hit send. And so now we've asked ChatGPT now. Okay, so if you guys are comfortable with code and you're comfortable getting an app started on yourself and you're good to go and you know Replit and you've played around with it, you don't need to go through this process. If you're opening it up for the first time and you don't really know exactly what to say or how to get Replit kind of started down the right path to get to what you want it to do, I would highly recommend you go through a process like this. The one thing I'll say, though, is if you are, let's say, overconfident and you get a little too far down the road and you think, oh, shoot, maybe I should have told Replit to do this instead of this, it's okay. You can either A, always start over, B, you can roll back in Replit. So as you develop, if it goes down the wrong track, you just roll back to a previous iteration. The other thing you do is tell Replit to change, okay? And for right now, we're going to get a really nice comprehensive scope or, in theory, prompt that we can take from ChatGPT, put into Replit, and this should get us started. So let's see what ChatGPT said for us. 2 core problems, blah, 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 blah. Oh, so it did get it. We'll see if this is right. Hopefully it is. All this stuff that I have no idea about. I don't know any of this thing. All right, cool. So here now we start to have fun. Let's see how this goes. So what you're going to do is you're going to take what ChatGPT sends you, all of it. We're going to copy that. We're going to go to Replit. Now, like I said, I try my best to keep this stuff free. So I try my best to show you AI tools and AI tips and tricks that you can use, for free, or at least as cheap as possible. If you want to get any sort of development work out of Replit, you are probably going to have to pay for it. I think the minimum bite size is like 20 or 25 bucks. I think if you're a business owner, you've wasted $25 on other stuff. I think you just pay 25 bucks, get your mind blown, and you're going to be addicted to this thing. I promise you'll be addicted once you figure out what you can do. So open your Replit channel. You're going to notice that it has like a very similar interface to ChatGPT. It's very chat-based. So Replit is an LLM, large language model AI agent. So it's going to look and feel very similar to ChatGPT, even though it does very different stuff. And then what you're going to do is just paste your project. MVP. The nice thing is that when you paste into Replit, it just pastes it into a thing like, it just shows a file right here. And then you can just say, start chat. So let's see what happens. And Replit, here's the best I can explain. When humans code, the way you do it is, it's a very methodical process, and this is why the computer programmers that are kind of like the most logical process-driven people because, before I get into this, I'll take you through what Replit's doing. So we pasted our project brief into Replit. The nice thing that Replit does is before it starts, so the way Replit charges you and charges your card is that it will basically use what they call checkpoints. So as the AI is doing coding for you, it basically keeps track of the amount of data it's pushing, and it will have these checkpoints. Okay. The checkpoints, I think each cost a quarter or something. So if you use 5 checkpoints, it's basically $1.25 off your thing. The nice thing about Replit is that before it starts charging you or using any of your credits on a new app, it will ask you, is this right? Do we have the plan approved? Or is there anything else that you would want to say or edit or change, right? So what's really cool is that we already have a visual preview, which is nice. It picked up my colors. It picked up the beige if you guys are seeing this. So let's see what's going on here, right? So green beige styling, website embedding. We've got this. We've got home price, down payment, interest rate, cool. Property taxes, insurance, cost of waiting, Nate. Look at that. We're going to check that out. Calculate payment. All right, so let's just approve the plan and let's get started on this thing. So the way that normal code is done, granted, I wasn't a computer science major, but I spent a lot of time programming. And so the way it normally would work is you would think about it and you would write down what's called pseudocode. So you would say, okay, well, pull in list, extract data from list, put data in right spots, right? And each of these different things would be what's called a function. And this function would basically do certain things in order to extract data. It would do certain things, and you would have a list of these functions. You would have them get called. And that's really what's called object-oriented programming. When you code with ChatGPT, which I would say is a step up from just writing out your own code for sure, ChatGPT can remember an insane amount of information. So you can have ChatGPT effectively coding 3 or 4 scripts at one time and making sure that it keeps track of all the variables and all the things that are changing in the dependencies and all that stuff. And it will output things for you. The thing that's really good, and that's nice because ChatGPT can manage multiple files for you and it can manage a relatively complex project. The problem, though, is that ChatGPT makes mistakes, and sometimes it'll do something totally different. Sometimes it'll just drop something off, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're just copy and pasting. Sometimes you get really lost in these loops. And the other problem with ChatGPT code is that if, let's say, you make a mistake and you're now half an hour later, oh shoot, I realized ChatGPT left out a whole chunk of my code and I don't know where to get this chunk back. And we were talking now for 45 minutes. It's really hard to go back and backtrack with ChatGPT whenever you're coding with it. So you have to be very careful. Replit solves most of those problems for you. Okay. And what you're seeing on the right, or on the left, sorry, is basically an interaction with what's called, it's basically an AI agent. Okay. And so what you're doing is, instead of asking Replit questions or using Replit like a search engine, like most people do with ChatGPT, what you're going to do is actually tell it, hey, I want it to be this, or I want it to do that. So we're going to let it come back for a second because it's still kind of thinking and showing a very basic app. If you go with a very complicated app, it might take you 10, 15, 20 minutes for Replit to come back. We intentionally chose a very basic application so that way it could kind of compile and get to working for its first run. Okay. And so what you're going to see here is in Replit, if you look at your Replit window, you're going to see a chat with your agent. This is your AI agent, the one doing the work for you. On the right, you're going to have the preview window right here. If you have a database and you want to check out database work, you can preview your database. If you have multiple deployments or GitHub, or you have other things like that in your coding, you can integrate all this into GitHub, which is pretty cool. For right now, though, we're just using a simple app, and so we're just going to test it out. So Nate, I can see your face because everyone else is off video. So unfortunately, it's just easy to call on you, bud. Does this look, at least to you initially, like a mortgage calculator that you might want to put on a website?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So I think the first thing that is just mind-boggling to me, it did the UI for you. First try. You didn't have to say, oh, I want this button or this field or this or this. I want it to be this length. I want it to be this size. I want it to do. No. You guys saw what I punched in. It did the UI. I mean, I think that's just level 1 nuts. Okay. Now let's go into what actually happens here and let's see if it works. Okay. So Nate, let's check it out.
So UI, for those of you who don't know, is user interface. Is that correct, Jared?
That is correct. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it. Yes, UI being user interface. So, when you're designing what's basically shown to you, normally what you'd have to do is pick out, I want these fields to be, you'd have every single detail here would have to be coded and figured out and planned. And with Replit, you don't have to do that. Now, granted, you have a little bit less control, I would argue, over what it looks like. So sometimes it takes some massaging to get it to be exactly what you want it to be. And as long as you're kind of open to different designs and different interpretations of what you're doing, Replit is sick. Saves you so much time. So let's just punch in a $500,000 purchase price. 500, 1, 2, 3. So we might want to ask it on the next round, for inputs with dollars, please make sure commas are used in the right format. And for interest rates, I think that's okay. Percentages are okay. So just make sure commas are used in the numbers. Okay, so let's say 500,000, 20% down, 6.75 interest rate, 30-year loan term. I don't know, property taxes, monthly property taxes on a property like that, probably $250. Call monthly insurance another $150. And Nate, for right now, we're not going to test our cost of weighting button. We just want to see if we can get to some mortgage calcs. Is that cool?
Perfect.
So we calculate the button. Well, that's pretty cool. So we've got our principal interest payment. We've got our property taxes, insurance, total monthly payment done. Right now, I think we could do some work here on the loan summary. So you pay, basically it's $400,000 of total principal that gets paid, $533,981. Now the total cost of the loan, I'm not really sure what this is. So you can also tell it like, hey, okay. So what, I guess real quick, I think this did a really cool thing for, your first shot. What feedback do we have on, I'm just curious, besides inputs and dollars using commas and all that stuff, what would be something we'd want to do in this app that either would make it more user-friendly, nicer for someone to use? What else is something that we could do here?
Tool tips, possibly, especially over loan summary. People would see that and be confused, a normal consumer.
What do you mean by that, sorry?
Tool tips, maybe the little question icon or something like that. You'd have to connect that to a database, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or have ChatGPT answer those questions directly. But above loan summary, right next to loan summary, what is this, right? And you'd have the little Q button where you can have the tooltip that explains what you're looking at.
Perfect.
Or
okay,
the information button, sorry. Something like that.
What if someone leaves something blank? Like, I would have no idea what my insurance would be. Or is that something people just kind of guess at based on maybe their last home buy?
Yeah, normally they guess based on what they're paying right now, or they kind of just put something in as a plug. It's really hard to know, especially kind of where you're at. It depends a lot right now, basically.
And taxes, so, yeah.
But what we can do is let's say let's see what it does here. So additionally, let's put, what would you call it? Like little let's put like dialogue question mark things over the results sections to show users what each of the P and I, property taxes, and insurance mean, or how they're calculated. All right, let's just see that. So let's get inputs of dollars. Instead of the total cost of the loan, let's just show the full table. And by the way, let's put dialogue question mark things over the results section so users can see what all this stuff means and how it's calculated. Right? All right, let's give it the feedback. And so, as I was kind of saying, what Replit does as an agent is you talk to Replit like you would talk to a junior computer programmer. So imagine if you were just managing a team of computer programmers and you were saying, no, I don't like that, do this, do that, whatever. And you can give it the feedback and it will talk back to you and show you what it's doing as it's doing it. The really nice thing about this is that if you're getting really deep into code and you're familiar with kind of what's going on and you're willing and you want to look a little bit more in terms of like what it's doing, Replit will actually, as it's going through the process, show you what parts of code and what lines of code it's changing and where it is in these documents are making changes. So if you see it going down the wrong path, you can stop it, right? The other nice thing is that let's say we made a mistake, and we'll see what comes back. It'll take a few minutes here. If you made a mistake on this next, change, and you wanted to roll back, you could always roll back to what we've had right here, right? The one tip I would tell everyone is if you're playing around with your own apps, you're going to start really getting into Replit and AI development agents. Small steps are always the best steps. Do not try to go from, well, I have a very basic app and now I want to do everything that I've ever thought about doing all in one shot. I promise you it will get confused along the way. So the best way to do this is take it very sequentially. So what we did was we did 3 basically like UI, like user interface, thank you, Nate, user interface kinds of things where we're saying, okay, put a comma here, put some dialogue boxes here. And, the one main thing we did that might actually change the app a little bit is put in an amortization table instead of this thing called total cost of loan. When you get into database work, when you get into integrating other, code in the back end where let's say maybe your user interface is calling other programs in the back and you're running stuff in the background, it's taking data from a database. Do not try to do too much at once because it will just screw everything up. I've learned that lesson the hard way too many times. What's up?
Is there a history with, so if you do get in the weeds there, is there a history, if you know a little bit of code where you can compare old code versus your new code after the prompt?
Absolutely. Great question. So right here, what I've shown so far on the left is, the app has crashed. And I think here what's really cool, and I'm going to get to this, but here's what's pretty cool, right? It sees there's an error, right? Oh, I see there's an error. Blah, blah, let me fix that. And now it's going to go, it's debugging itself right now, which is pretty cool, right? And so it's basically connected to AI, which is basically debugging, decoding AI, and it's going in this loop and kind of helping us understand and better iterate, right? So you're seeing the process that's going through right now. Nate, if you ever wanted to, let's say, download your files, back them up, store them on GitHub, whatever, you can do that right here in the app. It's called, so up at the top right here, there's a home, and then here, files. You just say expand files or show files, and right here, you've got your file directory. If you want to download this, you can just download a zip, right? So if you download a zip, you download the entire project, and it's basically a working application drive for you. So if you want to run it up, if you want to upload it to GitHub, or you want to maybe upload it into another Replit app, say, hey, I created this app in Replit. I really like it, and I want to use it as part of another app that I'm developing. You can actually upload those files and put them back into another Replit app, right? The other thing, too, is let's say you're getting, oh, look, we got our comma. We got our comma already, which is great. So let's say you're working on something very complicated. And a lot of times with AI, and I think you guys will start to see this as, oh, look, we can store, do we want to add a data? Yeah, why not? Let's just add it. While we're at it, let's just add a database. Why not? Yeah, we'll add a database. Sure. But what I think you're going to notice with AI, and especially as you get into AI stuff, whether it's coding or marketing or just playing more with ChatGPT, is that you'll end up getting in these loops where it's really hard to kind of, it sees something and it thinks it's the same thing, and it kind of goes like, oh, we're in this loop. And so part of where humans are still very valuable in program processes is in basically kicking AIs out of these loops, like recognizing, okay, you're in this death spiral, get out of it and go in this direction, right? That's really hard if you don't know how to code and you don't and you don't really know what to tell it. That's where ChatGPT comes in. So what you can do is download these project files from Replit. You can then go here. Oh, we created a database. Got it. Cool. Now it's updating everything, storing it. We'll check it in a second. But basically what you could then do is go into ChatGPT and say, great. How about, let's just try it out for right now. Here's the first version of code that Replit put together. What are your thoughts? So we're just going to upload our files into ChatGPT. Did that come down yet? Did I not download that?
I don't think you did.
Oh, my bad. Let me download it really quick. Okay, downloaded. You can upload zip files into ChatGPT, which is pretty cool. And then you just send it. And ChatGPT will look at it, right? So if you're ever running into a problem with Replit where you say, hey, Replit, or hey, ChatGPT, I can't get it to work, you can do all sorts of things. You can go back to, you go back to your Replit agent. And then what you can do is copy and paste this. Let's say, okay, hey, ChatGPT, here's our conversation since the last update. What should I have told it? All that stuff. So you can really start moving data back and forth between ChatGPT and Replit, using ChatGPT to help you manage the project because you might not have the technical expertise to do it, and then interacting with Replit and giving you the prompts and commands to get Replit to go where you want it to go if you can't communicate to Replit properly by yourself, which is really cool. So now your AI that you've trained in ChatGPT is basically an agent controlling another AI agent that's then controlling a coding AI, which is building your own web application. This is taking a really long time. I did not, I'm trying to fill space because I did not expect it to take this long with this kind of thing. It's probably because it's doing the database stuff. So as soon as this comes back, which hopefully will be in the next few minutes, so once you tell it to go create a database, it can create user information, which is something I want to do because we want to be able to create the profiles for people. So if someone comes to our website and they want to log in, they can save their searches, they can pull stuff up. That's all stuff you can do with Replit. That's why I told it to start a database. If you don't need to ever save information, like let's say it's just I don't know. I think saving information is always good, but let's say you don't ever need to save it. You don't need to have a database. You don't need to go through this process of adding that. Adding databases just makes things more complicated. So if you're really not looking to save the information or use it in any way in the future, then you don't really need to do that. And right now, so it's working through the database. What's up?
Yeah, and as far as the database is concerned, I think that it would be really helpful if, like for this particular mortgage calculator, would you like information on how you can save an additional 10% using Vanna Lending? Click here. Then you can have a simple 3-prompt typical. You don't even need a landing page at that point. All you're getting is name, phone number, and email. That's it, right? And that's why you would use a database for this particular scenario. Most mortgage calculators are a pain in the butt. Most home buyers are going to a mortgage calculator, and in order to get the results, you often have to put in your information, and then you get spammed to death by Rocket or UMB or someplace. So anyway,
yeah, totally. So it's still working through some of this stuff. It looks like it's working on the database implementation. Let's just kind of see what it looks like though. So home purchase price $500,000. So now we can see it 20% down again, 50%, 20% down. 675, 500, 150, great. Calculate it. And now we have a full amortization table. Oh, first 12 months, right? But now we have, we could ask it to do all sorts of things here. We could say, hey, play with this format. We want to see, greens and yellows and blues and reds. We can make this look however we want. Calculation was successfully saved with ID 1. Cool. All right. So the agents report progress. Let's check it one more time. 750,000, 20% down. Cool. And oh, by the way, Nate, see, we've got the.
Yep. Awesome. Little tool tips. Love it.
See, so like we didn't even tell it what to say, and it already knows what to put in these little things. Right? So, I mean, this is really cool. And now we've got a mortgage calculator. We didn't have one. Now we have one. I don't know how many checkpoints it did, but let's see. It did one. I mean, this probably cost like $1.50 in computational power off Replit. Right? All right. So now let's say we want to get this online. Because look, I know we've got some work to do. So we're not going to put it on the main site. And just for all intents and purposes, I feel like this shows, or at least proves my initial point for some very simple lead magnets, whatever we're trying to do for our own stuff. And we're going to talk about other ideas that I have for you guys to play around with for your own businesses. Replit's very easy. So when you want to, let's say, put your app out there into the world, okay, that's called deploying your app. Replit will, and what's really cool about Replit as part of your stuff is that Replit will also basically host your app for you. So in addition to doing the development, it will host it. So you don't need to worry about where to put your app or how to run it or getting a server or server uptime, downtime, all that stuff, right? So what we're going to do is for right now, we're just going to call and put in a new URL, which will just be vanna.calculator.replit, or how about Vanna calculator? What the? Uh-oh. Well, we're just going deploy. So I guess you don't need a primary URL. I got to figure that out in a second, but you just click deploy. And once you deploy, it's going to go through this process of basically getting your app ready. Okay. I don't know what happens when you don't punch in a primary URL. I've never done that. And of course, as I go through a demo in front of everyone, I do something I've never done before and don't know what's going to happen. So we will see. And in theory, what will happen is that this app should get published to let's say a non-Vanna lending domain name, which is okay, because as soon as you get it on the web, the nice thing about websites is like as soon as you get something online with a web address, you can basically get there. I mean, you can play around with website addresses and domains and embedding and all this kinds of stuff. So like it doesn't really matter like what domain name or what website address you're using to deploy. You can always fix that later in your settings. The main thing is just let's get it online. Let's see if it works, right? And so it's in the process of putting it online right now. You guys are seeing, these are the logs. It's taking you through what's going on. Okay, cool. And so it gave me a domain anyway, right? Love it. Cool. Awesome. So here is my domain. Mortgage Timeline Analyzer, Replit. All right, great. Now let's go to and just punch in that website. Look at that. I'm going to give it to you guys. Put it in the chat. So now this website address is in the chat. Why don't you guys go and see if you can get this thing to work? Let's see if
who owns this?
I'm sorry?
Who owns this page now?
I do.
How do you know that?
So we have the project files, right? So all the so this is why you own it, because you own it. Because right now, if you wanted to, you can go into your file directory right here and download all these files. Once you have all these files, once you have a hosting platform and you run these files and compile them, you have this working web application. Okay. So Replit doesn't own this. You own the files, you have full use. Replit is more around computational power with, they own the AI agent in terms of how you get all this debugging going. They also make money on the hosting. Because once you have an app on Replit, why would you ever want to go through the pain of moving it off their platform? So as part of your monthly subscription for Replit, you're basically paying for hosting, and this is part of where they make their money. It's less in actually owning the apps that they're helping you develop and more around the hosting and the computational spend.
Yeah.
Thanks
So
for
if you
explaining
cancel your Replit subscription, then their hosting goes away and the app won't work. Basically.
Correct. Yeah, but I mean, you can download the files, take them with you, and then if you end up wanting to launch them somewhere else, totally cool.
Yep. Copy, paste them, put them up on your own website. You've already got all of the code put together.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yep. All right, so let's test our cost of rent now, Nate. Let's just see what's up. So I'm not sure I love this, but we can work on it. So $26,000 annual rent, annual ownership. So I mean, interesting, right? But we got to go through this. But at least, hey, it gave us some initial shots, some initial data. Now we just got to work through it. This is where maybe it takes an hour or two to actually get like a fully baked out app online instead of 20 minutes. And this is still showing the technology in terms of what you can do, right? Yep. And I think the other nice thing is that it already has the user interface done for you, right? So that is the demo. If you ever want to like change stuff around, so you can get QR codes to your app. So I think that's really fun. Like if you just wanted to have a web app, you can actually have Replit give you a QR code. If you want to connect this to your domain, you can. That's definitely something you can do. I'll show you kind of what we've done with this. So let's see. Blue Pebble is now full deep in Replit and Replit technology. And so I'm just going to share a different screen for you so you can see how we're using it just to kind of get your minds going on this stuff. Let's see. Cool. Okay. So we've developed our own internal app called Sterling. Basically, we have, this is our content marketing automation for all of our agents now. And basically, we have agent profiles. So you can log in, you can save, by the way, notice my job title. So this is pretty sweet. But you basically can create your own profile. You have all the stuff that you ever need to know on your profile for Blue Pebble right here. You can control your brand. So, we've got our headshots stored now on Sterling. We've got our brand colors and color guides stored on Sterling, which is pretty cool. We have integrations with other services like OpenAI, 11 Labs, HeyGen. We've created out 4 modules right now. One for email customization. So this app allows our agents to basically, let's say, just like change their email templates on the fly. They can make this look like whatever they want and, store their settings. And then basically we can tap into that whenever we're sending out emails on their behalf to make sure that emails are looking like what they want. Here's one of the things we built out of Replit, by the way. So Replit was 100%. Like I've used Replit for all this. Okay. So basically you can select images. Let's say you want new social media graphics and you don't know what to post or how to post them or whatever. Don't worry about it. As long as we have your brand guide and your color guide stored in Sterling as part of your onboarding process, you can go into our social media database and select images that you want to create for yourself. It uses a program that I wrote last summer in order to convert the colors from our colors to the agent colors. And then hopefully here in about 5 seconds, you're going to see that you can basically convert these images from our colors into your color palette. So that way it's your brand, your message, it aligns with what you're trying to do. I don't have the time on this demo to take you through what Storyboard does. At the end of the day, though, what it does is it creates automated UGC content. So we have the ability to basically use, Lincoln, 11 Labs, and HeyGen. So if you ever want to create this kind of UGC style videos with AI avatars and AI voices, we can do it. We're actually deploying our first AI video on our mortgage funnel. So we have a 5-minute crash course on the mortgage process that was written, edited, and developed all with AI, all with automation through Sterling, which is pretty cool. And then lastly, our last module is called Scout. You can upload call data into Google Drive. You can click on this data, view the file, and you can basically get some sort of analysis or some sort of call that kind of tells you like, hey, this is a missed opportunity. This is what you did well. So you can increase your prospecting and make that a lot better. I think the really cool thing about Replit and, specifically around AI coding is not that you need, what's really cool these days is that you do not need to know how to do any of this stuff. You don't need to know how to, it doesn't matter for you. If you want to create a video, it doesn't matter that you know exactly how that video is created. All that matters is that you get the information from one system into another system in the right way and allow these systems to talk to each other. And so one of the really cool things about Replit and AI coding is that it is very familiar with that process of setting up what are called API calls and API connections. And so through those calls, through those connections, you can actually use very simple pieces of code, like I just showed you via Sterling, and connect very powerful systems like Google Drive to ChatGPT, like ChatGPT over to 11 Labs and HeyGen, just storing databases and having information. So I think this just scratches the surface in terms of what you can do with Replit. I just wanted to take today and show you guys a very basic example. We're going to continue doing work on that stuff in terms of the mortgage calculator for Vanna. I'll let you guys all know when it's ready to go. And I think that's the demo that we have for today. So any questions? Just curious, what do you guys think?
Well, thank you for taking the time to do this. I have not personally implemented AI knowingly, I should say, into anything on my website or any kind of tools. I do the bare minimum of website updating. So I'm still trying to figure out. I'm sure there's something AI is going to help me with one day. But outside of just working on my drawings, which is AI smart, I'm not sure how it impacts other areas yet. I'm just trying to figure that out.
The way I'm thinking about it, and I don't know how you'd want to do this, Meredith, or for your stuff. I'm just totally throwing it out there. One of the things for me is what if you could have someone take a picture, upload that picture of a floor plan to your website, and then your website had basic, battleship templates of furniture and stuff. And then you on your website, you could just have a free layout app. Mm-hmm. And, they can click send and be like, hey, you want to get prices on all this furniture, click here, and it goes directly in your inbox kind of thing. That would be, you would be able to, I believe you would be able to put that together via Replit. That would be AI based because you could basically use AI to write the code, but it wouldn't have to be AI based in terms of how it would put the floor plans together. And that could be an easy lead magnet for you. Nate, I think for art, for real estate and also too, I think for general business owner stuff. So one of the other things I was thinking about was what about an online diary? Somewhere where you could literally just write or dictate yourself, and it's just your own app, your own link, whatever. What if you just had your own daily diary or your own daily business journal, and you were somehow prompted every morning to write in your daily business journal with some sort of structured prompt? All these prompts were then stored to a database. And since it's stored to a database, you could take these prompts and run them through ChatGPT and now get, some analysis on how you're doing, right? Or what are you noticing in my business? What themes are you noticing in the answers to these questions? How can I improve my business? How can I track myself? That's very easy to do. You know, let's see.
I think that sounds great. And what the diary part of that, for any small business, I've been part of many of them over the years. We're constantly running into problems that need to be solved. We're constantly trying to figure out how to communicate that to future clients on how we solve these problems. And if you had this diary, every time that you had an issue, you just grab your phone app, say, okay, this is the problem. This is how I solved it. You're done, right? And then goes into a database at the end of the week, end of the month. Now you have so much blog writing material to deal with. If you plug that into these deep fake things like Jared just touched on with 11 Labs, you have your company spokesperson that you just have that direct to there. It creates these videos for you for your YouTube channel and your social media. It's done for you completely. And man, we just were taught the tool how to do this. It's so simple. Wow.
Appreciate it, bud.
That's cool.
That diary idea is great too for things like making sure you don't forget things and being able to look back at your day, like being able to talk to it, put your day in, have your list at the end of the week, compare it to what the AI says, and then that can help you form your calendar for the next day or next week or whatever else to keep you more interactive with what you're doing.
I'm sorry?
No, that was it.
And let's say you guys got to the point with these diaries where you did want to connect them to ChatGPT. You just tell Replit, hey, I want to pass this to ChatGPT, and it knows how to do it. It will give you a prompt. Okay, if you want this, I need your OpenAI API key. And you say, okay, great, here it is. And then in theory, it's done. So I would just say, look, we've all wasted dollars on things as small business owners and entrepreneurs that we would look back on and be like, you know what? That 20, 30, $100, like probably not the best bet, right? I think personally for $25 to get into Replit and just like let your imagination go wild and think like, what could I build with this thing? Right? How crazy could I get? I mean, what could I automate for my business? What's a problem that I'm having where I think I could get if some software just did this, I would be so much happier. Like that's what this thing is for. And so appreciate you guys all taking the time. I'm going to get this on YouTube as quickly as possible. You guys all have the link to the Google Sheet. You should have access to it. And I think we're good to go unless there are any other questions. Thanks, Meredith. Appreciate you. Thank you, Nate. Hey, guys, have a great week, great weekend, and we'll see you all next time. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jared.
See you guys later.
Thank you.